Looking forward to a great day. So far, it's been a great day here on Turfs Up Radio. WLS is well underway. Profits Unlimited were underway this morning. Daniel's rocking and rolling with that, and Katie's over there beating the drum to the WLS. What do you call it? I don't know. Beating the drum to the beat of the music. Hey, let's just go with that. But hey, we're glad you're with us today. Looking forward to a great show. It's Hump Day. Yes, can y'all believe it? We have rode around to another Hump Day. It's been a great morning with Aaron and Daniel so far, and here it is, time for profit time. And I have got some good stuff today. I think you guys are going to enjoy, without a doubt. And as always, it's going to be better when you get involved with me on it. And for you guys that are listening to this on a podcast, certainly take the time to let us know if you got any questions on what we're gonna talk about today. We do have a lot of great topics, and I'm looking forward to several of those. Craig reached out to me this morning and gave me a little a text on something he saw on next door, and I'm like, Craig, it's perfect, man. I'm gonna talk about that exact thing today, and this is kind of like going to be the flip side of that. So, yeah, looking forward to that as we talk about clients and contractor stories a little bit, if you will. We're going to talk a little bit about cancellations and in-season cancellations, and how we handle those. And oh my God, we just got yeah, right. I hear you, man. I hear you. So yeah, appreciate the text on that as well. But yeah, we're gonna have a great show today. That's what it's all about. It's kind of funny. I got a weather thing from BAM about their hurricane predictions. So when I say funny, kind of funny, I mean it's not really funny, but it's crazy that we're already thinking about hurricane season from a weather perspective. So, all you guys that are on the coast, wherever it is, hey, we appreciate that. And I'll give you that little bit of info here uh, in just a second. But let's see what Craig's got to say here. Getting this. Huh. Um, Craig, I don't know what's up with that. So let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Today, huh? Let's see. We'll see if well, we certainly should be on the air. Appreciate the text coming from you guys saying that we're off the air. So we'll see what's going on with that. Daniel, when he rolls back in here, I'll get his opinion on it. Let me check and see what's going on here. Let's see. Should be on. And then we'll go from there. Let me work on it in case I don't know if I'm talking to you guys or not. You're on? Okay. Okay. All right. Daniel said we should be good. Go through the website. Uh, okay. Daniel's on his app and our website. So we were having a little issue this morning. Or, oh, that's what I meant. Turfs Up Radio. Yeah. Daniel was saying Aaron had a little issue this morning. So, uh, well, yeah. So you should be getting us now. Heckapus says that we're sounding good to him. He's on. So, all right. Well, thank you all, man. I appreciate you guys letting me know that. Um, we should be good on the website and the app. I know Daniel was just telling me Aaron had a little issue this morning with one of the app. So, but we're rocking and rolling now. Yes, indeedy. Appreciate that. You guys are awesome. How y'all keep me rocking and rolling. Heck yeah. If nothing else, man, we're a team. We're a full blown team here, and it takes all of us to make it work. So, but getting back to what I was talking about, it's BAM has sent out their seasonal forecast for hurricanes, and it's just hard to believe that we're already thinking about hurricane season. And God, I ain't even made it to the lake yet. Lake's still flooded. It's probably going to be June or July at least, or June for sure, 100%, maybe mid June. So we'll see how that transitions and comes back around. And that's even with no water. I think it ended up being almost 28 feet above summer pool before it finally settled down. So, and then they had to hold the water for a while. So, kind of like our businesses, right? You know, things go on. We kind of get into a little bit of a holding pattern, and but it'll come around. One thing for sure. I mean, the reservoirs did their job, but you know, looking at this hurricane outlook that Bam sent me, and Matt's not going to be on with me today. They're going to get on Friday with me, but I don't know if and I was going to ask him about this, but their preliminary look, you know, says that we're going to have about 6 to 9 hurricanes across the U.S. this year, and it translates into about 14 to 18 named storms, and then 2 to 4 major hurricanes. So, who knows? I'm interested in getting Matt's input on that, how they can forecast something like that. You know, so I'm sure that's and see how that compares to a normal year. But I just thought I'd throw that out there for you guys over on the East Coast between say Virginia, potentially North Carolina, Virginia, Mid Atlantic, Corey up your way, and even further up onto the Northeast, above normal year potentially. For potential landfalls that away. So, for you guys listening to us all over the country on the coastlines, be careful, be ready, and be prepared because that's all we can do. We can't change the direction or type and force of any of these storms. But it also looks like the panhandle of Florida across Louisiana and Alabama and Texas and down into southern part of Texas looks like an above normal year as well. So we will see you guys on the east coast of Florida shooting in there below normal. So, and then from about Sarasota south below normal. So hopefully that holds out because I know that area got jammed up pretty good. So we'll see, but we'll get Matt's opinion on it when he rocks in here with us on Friday. See what he thinks about it, and we know that's their team collectively what their thoughts are on it. But uh, yeah, oh, that's funny. Said he forgot about hurricane season. Yeah, you didn't have to worry about that one in Iowa, do we? But yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. I think I'd rather take my chances in a warm season climate as well, my friend. So, but hey, let's take a short break. We'll be right back with more profit time and some awesome stories, or I think they're awesome. They're going to be even awesomer um, when you get involved. And I know that's not a word, but and also speaking of words, I get this word of the day thing and on an email and funnier. I, I think funnier. They were talking about what do people say, Katie? About uh, yeah, funnier though. They were talking about that should be a word, you know. So, anyways, we'll talk about that a little bit too when we come back, and then we got certainly some great business topics to talk about. So, don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back with more profit time here on Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station. Appreciate you guys listening. Appreciate you guys sharing. Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. We love it. We love it. Keep sharing the station out there. It's outstanding. Numbers are great, and live listenership is better than ever. So, hey, we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Let's keep the message going. Let's keep the message going. Keep sharing it and helping contractors one at a time. So, uh, yes. Seth, yes, Seth is saying he's having a little trouble this morning. So yes, website. Give me just a second as I walk Seth through this. There we go. So, anyways, we're looking forward to a big day to say the least here for everybody, being that it's hump day, right? I mean, we're halfway through the week, or for some of you guys. And, it's, halfway through, 10% through, 40% through. Some of you guys may take Monday and Tuesday off, and maybe hump day is your first day back. But regardless, it's hump day, and we're going to treat it as such here. And maybe it's your first day, maybe it's your last day. Maybe you start winding things down on Wednesday. Maybe you bust it out, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday really hard, and Thursday's an easy day, and you're off to the races doing what you like. And but speaking of being off to the races, had a great derby. We're not going to reiterate all that and talk about all that again, but I do want to give another shout out to my buddy David Bowling. Congratulations to him and Emily on their new addition to their family. David Francis Bowling the third, I think it is. So, yeah. So congratulations to that. If you guys are listening, and that was funny. David's already got the kid clothes, for God's sakes, that say David's Lawn Service. I think his baby picture might have been taken in them. So, but I know how proud it is, man. I've got pictures of all mine in our WLS stuff. Absolutely. So, yeah, it does. It's a big day when all that goes down. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Profit Circle for just a second for you guys that are involved. We certainly appreciate that, but appreciate you if you would share that. We're going to have a great topic in our webinar this month. We've got a really good friend of mine that's going to do a topic. He's with Edward Jones, and he's going to talk to us, about making sure we're taking care of ourselves, as well, and our employees, if you want to do that side of it as well. So that's coming up. We'll get Daniel sent the link out, I think, to that yesterday. So you should have that in your inbox. We're going to be doing that. I'm not 100% sure of the date in my head. I should have. This just came to me right now to talk about it a second. But you've got the link in your box. And for you guys that would like to get involved in the Profit Circle, certainly would love to have you with us. But I wanted to talk a little bit today about something that popped up in my social media feed yesterday, and that's this lawn service, and they're national, from what I understand, and I got a lot of topics today, so we're going to roll through these bad boys. But I think it's called Lawn Starter, and you guys may have seen it. It's a company that your first mow's $19. It's kind of like that house cleaning. Now that I think about it, there's a house cleaning, national house cleaning service that does the same thing. Your first cleaning of your home is $19. I can't think of the name of that, and I would just wonder if it's the same conglomerate. That'd be pretty interesting thing to know. So, but I know they do house cleaning, and your first one's $19. I don't know. I don't think that's a coincidence. Do you, Daniel?
Probably.
You think?
Yeah. $19.99 or $19 is a pretty
just
good, because it's less than a $20 bill. It's like,
I hear you. Okay, fair enough. So that came rolling across that company called Lawn Starter came rolling across my social medias yesterday. So I did put it in there. I thought, man, this is cool. This instant quote kind of thing, and so I put my address in, and my name and my address, and I didn't hide anything. I mean, whatever. If they didn't want to quote it for me, if somehow it linked back to me having a lawn service or whatever, but. Yeah, I mean, it was an instant quote, and it said, "Hey, thanks for using our website, basically, and your first mow's $19, and your weekly service is $59." Which I gotta say, that'd be right in pricing line with how we would price our job at my house. So it seems like they've got a legitimate pricing structure in play, better than I can say for some others. That we'll discuss here in a minute. But yeah, but the only thing a little bit weird about it, and you guys know my feeling on this anyway, but I'm not a fan of biweekly mowings. But it said my weekly service would be $59. My biweekly service was going to be $62. So that's the only thing a little bit weird about it to me, just being a big number guy, that there's no way that that can make sense in my world anyway. Obviously, they're a national company. They got it figured out, I would think, and they're going to make it work, or do make it work, and are making it work. But I just don't see that the $3 for another 7 days of growth. Um, what I do know is there's no way that $3 would cover the cost of the mow, and the other 56 just be the cost of getting there. You know, so on my $59 service, in case somebody didn't stay with me on that, does that make sense, Daniel?
Yeah.
That okay, well we need 56 to get there in the first place, and it's going to be another $3 in labor, you know, the add on for the additional height. But anyways, I don't know. I'm curious if any of you guys have seen that in your market or dealing with it at all in your market, and or maybe utilizing some AI or whatever it may be to help bid those jobs that fast for you. So I don't know. I might try to get these guys on my show and get their perspective on their business model for sure, because it seems reasonable. The price per service seems fair. So it sounds like we could potentially have somebody on the radio here with us. Excuse me, to talk about the business model a little bit. So I don't know. It's very professional and easy to read. I will say that, Daniel. It's good text, good size text, limited amount of text. Uh, but anyways, looking forward to that. Uh, Seth says that's every day in their market. So, um, oh Lord, that's why we like to do a lot of things. But anyways, we're not going to turn this into a bi-weekly mowing show today. We hammer that horse hard enough. But I was just curious if any of you guys have heard of it. But like I said, it's Lawn Starter is the company name, and they said they've done literally, you know, many like I can't remember if it's 500,000 or something number of mowings already, that they've scheduled. So it's obviously a decent size service, So okay, so you guys let me know if you know anybody that's used them or tried them, or
And for all we know, they're subbing this stuff out.
yeah, could be. That's well, we kind of joked about it this morning, Daniel, while you were on your show. I don't know if you heard me or not talking to Katie. I says, but and I'm sure there's some parameters to it, but
Yeah.
I wonder if we could take our one-time Mows, run it through them,
Right.
and us take the difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for
But
them, I mean, even like, why not give away a 1999 cut when they can easily find anybody in any market to do a biweekly cut for $35 and they're getting 62 whatever for it.
yeah, yeah, no, that
Doesn't
makes
take
sense.
long to make up the difference, really.
No.
Got 500,000 of them at least.
uh, Question says, do they use the low mow price to capitalize on extra services, or is it mow only? Great question. I don't know. I, I don't know what they're doing with that.
I guess
Exactly.
I could see it either way, really. I mean,
Yeah.
the low mow could potentially go after people who can't afford or wouldn't want to pay for extra services, or you could say it's going to attract more people. So the odds are you're gonna get at least some percentage of people that are going to want extra services anyway.
Right. I mean, that's kind of like what we count on, you know, with our business motto is to get the mowing, to get the other services, use the mowing side for a small margin to get the other work as well, only because it's so overhead driven, as we've talked about so many times. So, uh, yeah, that's a good point, and that may be what it's about too. But at some point, I mean, you're still robbing Peter and paying Paul, you know. If you're not taking care of, at minimum, your break even, on your mow, because then you're just reducing your other margins. So, but yeah, it certainly could be the model involved with that. So, oh no, we'll see how it goes. I'm really tempted to maybe have them come out and mow my grass and see who the contractor service provider is in our area. I'm sure they got probably many of them,
Yeah.
you know, but see how these guys are doing. I forgot a pain in the ass yard to mow, Daniel. Our front yard is very, very small, but it's a very, very big pain in the butt, to try to mow because of the undulation of the yard. And just, it's not an easy cut, but I think my square footage is around 7,400 square feet or something. So price wise, I mean, money wise, it's not bad. I was, like I said, the $59 a week price would be right in line. So, yeah, we'll reach out to them. I'm gonna see about getting them on my show and talk a little further in depth with them. But I did want to talk about today too, and this is kind of like, you know, customer customer service and contractor service day, and a lot of different topics, that we're going to talk about today. But Craig sent an interesting text to me earlier this morning, and he said, "Here we go again on next door." And his point was simply this: that the lady says, and this was just a lady's post on the Nextdoor app. You guys are familiar with that, I think. But it said, lady says $45 is too much for a quarter of an acre. Plus, she says she's very particular, meaning she's a PETA. So far, at least 10 companies have responded, including one who said they would come out on site for free estimate. Well, I think when there's a lot of red flags on a lot of different levels, I think, on that, Daniel, right away.
Yeah.
You know, oh my God. Oh, we're going to keep us that simple. He said you have a small yard, but you got a big deck. So, yeah, it is a nice sized deck on the back. So, we have fun back there. Matter of fact, we did Saturday before the Derby. But getting back to what we were discussing a little bit on Craig's thing was on his text is, you know, there's the perspective, and this goes back to what Heckamish used to say all the time, that a customer's perception is our reality, right? And I mean, her perception, and only because the perception's being put out there by too many contractors, to Craig's point here, you know, uh, first of all, how does she know what's too much? The obvious question.
Well, I mean,
But
that's like anything. That's
but
just a consumer saying that's too much for them.
yes, yes,
I mean, that's anything. Porsche is too much for a lot of people, right? But that doesn't mean it's overpriced or underpriced. It just means that's too much for them.
too much for them and their budget. But like I told Craig, I said, man, don't pull your hair out over it. It's not worth all that. It's just the reality of it is, um, the reality of it is it's just that time of the year, and we're getting more and more of it. I mean, we've probably had, this is not an exaggeration. What would you say, Daniel? Probably 30 calls the last 3 days on one-time mows, 25 maybe.
Yeah,
Just
uh,
people don't know. I mean, the good thing is our marketing's working. The bad thing is we're not converting because we're not trying for one-time mows.
right.
I don't know how you guys feel about one-time mowings, but we just don't do it. I mean, we don't do 99% of them. Because a lot of times they're 12, 15 inches high when you get there, or maybe even 8 or 9 on the low side. But point is, you can't get what they're worth. And then when you charge them what you charge them, then you get a negative review on Google over $65 or $100 or whatever the value is, and that ain't.
I think the only way to do it is to pre-run the card and then do the service.
Yeah, I was
That's
thinking of that. You know what? I thought of that exact thing yesterday. That why is an industry, and I know this ain't everybody, but it's a whole lot of the industry. Why is an industry did we decide many years ago that we're going to extend credit the way we extend credit to everybody? And that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, if I order a
to
pizza,
be fair though, to be fair, some people don't do that.
that's what I'm saying. It's getting better.
No. But to your thing that you don't like of pay per cut, you don't like that.
Right. No,
I get paid every time by some customers.
No, I understand that. Not the pay per, and that's a fair read into that comment. Yes, I'm not talking about a pay per cut. I'm talking about having asking for money up front on something like that. Hey, hey, somebody calls in and wants a mulch job,
Right.
and it's $200 or $2 million. It doesn't matter. Well, hey, all right, cool. You go ahead and pay for it. If I go into a restaurant,
here's my thing though, that it is a little different because especially at a restaurant, they're technically extending you credit.
Yeah,
it's short term. You eat the food, then you pay the bill.
Yeah.
No, you don't get 30 days to do it. But like with a landscape, let's say, for me, I would be uncomfortable paying especially someone I had never worked with before, a full amount for a landscape that they hadn't done anything on yet. Now, I wouldn't mind paying the second they were done. That's completely fine with me. But to pay beforehand, all up front, now a deposit's different, but completely everything, all paid before they do anything, I wouldn't be comfortable with that.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Craig makes a point here too, though. He says, there's no other industry where a customer can say the price is too high and the business owner bows down to the client.
Mm-hmm.
Try that in a restaurant, mechanic, attorney, doctor, plumber, etc. And his point's right on that. I mean, it is. I mean, but I think we kind of make, Craig, to your point, you're 100% right with that. But I think we make a value judgment at some point, and I'm not trying to justify it one way or the other, but I think we make, because that lady was certainly off target with it, and maybe she's off target because it's personal for all of us, right? But we make a value judgment before we go to a restaurant. God, I'm not going to Ruth Chris, or I'm not going to Jeff Ruby's.
Yeah, you know what you're getting into.
I know what I'm getting into, man. I mean, if I go out there, Tabitha and I go down to Jeff Ruby's to eat, I know I'm not walking out for less than a couple $100 minimum on a cheap night, but I can go to Texas Roadhouse and eat for 50 for both of us, probably, or 55. So you kind of make those value judgments going in, but it is a point well taken that our industry is very bad about letting the customer dictate the price on our businesses. And Craig, the flip side of what we're talking about the customer, going through multiple contractors. And I mean, that's a red flag in itself when somebody says, well, hey, I've had
10.
I've had 5 or 10 contractors.
Two is like, okay, that's a little weird, but maybe they just had bad judgment on those two. Getting into 5 or 10 is like, okay, something.
That's a whole lot of something not going right on the customers. The customer's end. Craig, we got a question directed to you. Said, is Craig on Craigslist? So is that where are you getting some of these, I guess, is the real question, from Nextdoor and Craigslist? Because quite honestly, Katie, all the time, that's where she sends the people that call us. When they say, hey, do you do one-time mows? Katie sends them, says, we don't, and probably anybody you get that's got somebody answering their telephone is not going to do it. But you may want to try some of the social medias, because there's a lot of guys on there that do it, so I know she sends quite a few people that way, but here's an email we got, and this is a different customer's perspective. I hear you, Mike. Mike says that's why he stays off next door, you know, and fill in the blank next door, Craigslist or whatever it is, or Angie's, and all those things. That's predominantly the type of clients that hang out around there. Oh my God. Mike said if he wanted to hear old ladies nag and complain, he'd watch The View. Oh,
Oh,
but here's a scenario, Craig. I told you I had the reverse side of that that I'd talk about today too, and here's that. We had a lady reach out to us yesterday, and she said, "I'm a senior citizen. I live at," and she gave her address, and then she says, "So and so gave me your name that recommended me to you all. He's been servicing my yard and told me today he's not going to use his push mower anymore, and I will need to find another company as soon as possible. My backyard has a gate and his large mower won't go through it. My yard is a typical ranch house, small to medium sized property." Let's see. And I'm taking some of the personal stuff out of it that she had. "He's charging me $39 weekly. Is it possible for you to add me into your schedule? If so, what is your cost? I feel a little discouraged." Now, here's where a consumer feels discouraged toward the contractor, Craig, to the point I was making where we had the reverse of that. She said, "I feel a little discouraged that he started the season off with me, also did some landscaping, and now decided to drop me because he doesn't want to use his push mower anymore in my backyard. He did refer me and said you guys would do a great job. I would like to hear from you. Thanks." And I get her point on that. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say what this person was thinking, and we certainly appreciate the referral. Number one, in case you're listening, because I know he does listen to us sometimes here on Turf's Up. But I guess the real question is, her contention is, he just did this to do the landscaping for me. And now that the landscaping's been done, he's throwing me under the bus, basically, and doesn't want to deal with my yard. Now, let's look let's look at that on both sides for a second. Number one is there could have been another solution to that, and we've actually had people do this. I'm just curious if maybe he suggested to her that she put a new gate in or another gate in. You know, we've done that before, and people have actually made the change. Where they have switched the gates out because they've either had a hard time finding somebody, that would do it with a push more. So we've actually had, like I said, several people do that where they'll think, hey, yeah, that does make sense. Rather than paying more per week to have a push more do it and constantly looking for somebody, how about just getting the gate switched out to where a larger mower can get in? That is a potential solution to the problem. All right. Now, the other thing is, though, is the pricing. Even if she did that, we couldn't do it at the $39 pricing. I'm not saying that price is wrong or right, but it's not right for us. I mean, we'd be 40% higher than that just as a minimum, not doing it with a push mower. And we're not going to do it with a push mower because we don't push mow either. But my whole point is sometimes we got to ask ourselves, are we trying to find a solution for somebody, or are we just saying, hey, we don't do it? I mean, now I'm looking at it from two different perspectives. The gate thing is, hey, we'll try to find a solution of, hey, you may want to consider a gate, not just to hire Wayne's Lawn Service, but that just help you moving forward down the road to find a contractor. What do you think of that side of it, Daniel? I mean, most people aren't going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it just depends. You can always try to solve someone's or help someone solve their problem. But I don't know. Like you
Would you
said,
do something like that if it was your house?
it would really have to make sense financially. Like, and it, like you said, it would make sense because you could pay less per mowing because, in theory, because it's take less time because you're doing it with bigger mowing things.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would, honestly. Just to me, it would seem too inconvenient.
Most people don't, but like I said, some have. And the reality of it is, especially in these older neighborhoods, I don't know why with chain links the gates were the standard of what they are. I'm sure there was a reason. Well, I guess because they weren't getting equipment in yards back
Yeah,
then,
people were mowing their own grass and
and it was easy
push
enough.
mowers and the thing. So
Yeah, it was easy enough for them to get in and through, and it worked fine for them. But you know, I think the reality of it is that could be a potential solution. Sometimes that's number one. I think Kyle was telling me not too long ago, he had somebody reach out to him, one of our customers, that were getting a new fence, and excuse me, did call and ask us, say, what size gate did you recommend that I put in?
mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be an all the time thing. And I don't want you guys to hear me saying that because it's not. But I think the consumer's perspective here on, well, why'd he start out the season just to get the landscape? And now he's left me high and dry in the busiest growing season in the world. And what I will say about this gentleman, just so you guys know, I'll go to bat for him. He's not that guy, but I think he's just made a decision, to change, you know. Uh, let's see. Should it be a new service offer in the beginning of the season or an add on to a landscape proposal? Could be an add on. I mean, we've taken a lot of fence gates down to get into backyards, with like a skid steer or something to do some things. I mean, we're not in the fencing business, but it certainly could be something that could be done for people. And like I said, I'm not going to beat this horse to death and waste any more time on it, but it is a potential solution to a problem that if you want it to, work in a certain area, uh, because it seems like this time of the year, you're bombarded with one time mowings and a lot of people with gates. I don't know why it is, but it is. Uh, Mike said, I've used the push more as an easy exit from an annoying client before. Not proud of it, but I did it. And I get that too. And it probably is, Mike, an underlying situation, or it could be an underlying situation. It could be like that, the situation with the person, being a PETA account, like Craig's text, where the lady thought 45 was too much. I mean, I don't think $45 is too much. That's just,
Text, I guess.
I don't know. It is what it is. But I wanted to talk about those two things, to talk about this, if you will. And that is, well, I'll tell you what, before we get into the lead up to what I really, really, really want to get into, let's take a short break. We'll be right back with more Profit Time here on Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station. Don't you go anywhere. I promise we'll be right back. And here's a throwback. You're going to think, what in the world are you doing playing this? But the reality of it is, we're always thinking ahead.
Winter's coming, and that means icy sidewalks, driveways, and parking lots. But this year, don't settle for ordinary rock salt. Supercharge it with the original magic. Made in the USA, the original magic isn't just salt. It's enhanced with a patented, eco-friendly liquid from vodka and rum distillers. This unique formula melts ice faster, lasts longer, and leaves an amazing residual that keeps working long after application. It's safer for concrete, landscaping, and even handles extreme cold with ease, all while reducing your salt usage by 35 to 50%. Treat your white salt with the original magic liquid or supercharge your salt brine for unbeatable staying power. Available in convenient 50-pound bags. Visit theoriginalmagic.com to find your nearest dealer or learn how to become one.
Yes, indeedy. We'll be thinking about that for too long. I mean, let's see, we're almost we're May. So, yeah, in August, we'll be talking snow, man, here with our customers. So, absolutely to be here before we know it. Yes, indeedy. And here's something else we need to be thinking about because solicitation season is right around the corner.
Attention professional decorators and lawn care companies. Ready to illuminate your profits this holiday season? Introducing lightsforchristmas.com, your premier source for commercial grade holiday decorations. Lightsforchristmas.com offers the best wholesale pricing on dazzling twinkling lights, stunning real looking wreaths and garlands, plus outdoor Christmas trees as large as 26 feet and our specialized wire motifs. Whether you're expanding your business or just starting in holiday lighting, our experienced staff is here to guide you every step of the way. For your holiday lighting product needs at the best wholesale pricing in the industry, visit lightsforchristmas.com today.
Yes, indeedy. Little seasonality, but hey, keep it in your mind. Keep it in your mind going there. Aaron Walls made a good point. He says, how do they know to put the mowing over the landscaping? We've actually got a video in the Profit Circle on that, the carrot. I call it. They dangle the carrot ahead of us. Maybe that's, I don't know where it came from, Aaron, but people have been doing it for years. And it is a good carrot, and the point is a lot of guys used to chase the landscape for the mow, but then as soon as they got the mow done, then they told them no. So, and we did, we chased that, but now we just verified a little deeper before we chased the landscape for the mow. It's like, no, we don't do that, but we'd be happy to, do the landscaping for you. Well, we want somebody who's going to do them both. Well, this time of the year, it's hard to find somebody who's going to do both. Maybe, and you're going to be scheduled out. Landscape wise, we could help you, pretty quickly if that's the ball game you want to play with that. So, but yeah, that's a very valid point, Aaron. That carrot is dangled out there a lot of times. But I did want to talk about how we talk about the lady that Craig sent, which is a reality for all of us in all of our markets, about people thinking the price is too much. And then you got the customer's perspective that says, well, why'd he do that? Now he's going to drop me. Let's talk about cancels, in-season cancellations a little bit. Have you had any cancellations yet? Be curious. Shoot me a text, 502-550-8307. That's 502-550-8307. Have you had any cancellations yet this year? I'm not talking about the ones that canceled in between years, but, for you guys, where most all of us have kicked our seasons off now, and, have you mowed 2, 3, 5 times, whatever, or sprayed them once or twice, whatever, wherever you're at in your rounds? How do you handle the cancellations that you're getting when we call them in-season cancellations, when things are up and rolling, not sort of transition periods in between seasons. And I'm just curious if you guys have had any yet, and what that looks like on your end, and why you guys are thinking about it and texting me, hopefully. I'll be happy to say, yeah, we've had some in-season cancellations. Matter of fact, we had a guy yesterday that reached out to us and told us that he wanted to stop service, and to let him know that he'd received his email. So we did respond back to him, but that's where sometimes a lot of companies stop. It's like, okay, fine, we canceled service. What do you do with it? How do you handle it? Let's see. Mowing canceled because I mowed while dewy. See, there you go. You mowed while it was dewy. Or mowed when it was wet. Well, I'm sorry, I've got more than one account, right, Mike? I mean, that's what you got to tell them, and you tell them. So if we waited till it was dry in the spring to cut grass, we'd be mowing everybody at about 26 inches. That's the reality of it. Um, Craig said, yeah, they've had 3 cancellations. 2 were due to job losses. 1 was an old guy who was always price shopping. So there's his 3. I don't know for sure how many we've had, but we've had probably 3 or 4. Wouldn't you, Katie? You take care of all those. How many would you say in-season cancels we've had? Just you like that one yesterday. 4, 5, 6, 10. Yeah. Katie said between 5 and 10. A couple mows, couple sprays without looking it up, and she said almost all of them were budget related. This guy yesterday, Mr. Fork, he mentioned that no, everything's fine with the service. I certainly would call you guys back. He said, we're trying to cut some expenses. I'm going to try to, do it myself, for a little bit. And I hate that. But on the other hand, he's probably not going to be able to do it himself because we've had that customer. I'm curious, Katie, look it up for me. See how long Fork's been around for us. But he's been around a long time. And, it goes back to complacency sometime on their end where they get used to things looking nice. And then all of a sudden they start thinking about it and think, well, man, I really probably can do this myself. And then they leave for, since when, 16?
So 9 years.
So 9 years.
9 years.
So, yeah, I know the yard specifically because I talked to him. So he's been getting a good job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to his original reason, assuming that's the real reason, it is the budget though, and it's not the complacency of him thinking he can do it. It's, hey, I want it. I still want this look. I just can't or don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do nothing, but I'm going to try to do it myself.
Yeah.
He doesn't think he can do it better.
No.
He just thinks
he's going to try to maintain it.
Yeah, he wants.
That's exactly what he said. I'm going to try to maintain it, and you can't fault somebody for that.
Yeah,
you can't fault somebody for that. What my whole point of going through that was, if it works out for him, great for him. But if it doesn't, he's probably going to be a really long-term loyal client.
Yeah,
moving forward, But it's always kind of crazy when they cancel after that number of years. John said he hasn't had any, but I have a few I wish I could or would cancel. But I hear you, John. That's the reality of that too, is sometimes it is fun to fire them. But on the other hand, if we can tolerate them and deal with it and it doesn't create too much grief on our end on the backside, then we go ahead and tolerate some of those PETA accounts. But that is the reality of it too. So that's funny that you bring that side of it up too, because that is an absolute good side to think about too, is how many do we have that we probably would like to get rid of but don't because they are manageable. And then sometimes we do have to fire clients. So, but it could go both ways. But the whole point of talking about cancellations is this. It is a nature of the beast. Most contractors will have some cancellations during the year at some point for one reason or another, whether they move, they die, the budget, whatever it is, bad service, perception. Again, sometimes it's perception, sometimes it's reality. But to my buddy Heckabus's point, he taught me that, and y'all have heard me say it many times, that our customer's perception is our reality, though. And with that side of it being said, do you do your due diligence to try to gather the information on why somebody canceled? I know Katie, when we have a cancellation, when they call, she'll ask them, was there a problem with the service, or how was your service? To find out, was it something we can control or not? We can't control somebody's willingness to want to try to maintain it themselves or their budget, but we can control to a certain extent some of the issues that roll with service not being completed timely, or trimming's not right, or I've got dandelions in my yard, or and we talked a little bit about that yesterday. We actually did a video on that in the profit circle on how many times you go back, on a certain weed customer. Is it an infinite number of go backs during the year for somebody, or do you go back once or twice, and because some things are controllable, some aren't. So for you guys at the profit circle, check that video out. That was a good question we had come up, and we did. That's but go up. Is it up yet, Daniel, or is it?
I think yeah.
I think
It went up today.
It's today. So, but check that out. So, but the point is though, find out, what's causing your cancellations, and if you can do it on the phone, that's the easiest and best way to do it, in my opinion, because you can actually have a conversation with somebody if it is a service related issue, and then be able to try to save it. But if it's email, sometimes they just tell you why and goodbye, and then you're the ghost in the past, But try to find out. It gives you an opportunity. Then number one is, can you micromanage? Or not can you, but it does give you the opportunity to micromanage a particular crew or applicator or whatever it may be, installer, if you're having situations go on. And if that's you, the owner operator, then it gives you a chance to micromanage yourself, maybe, because I will say this, sometimes our customers are right. We did a shitty job. That's the reality of it. That's not our goal. That's not our expectation. But the reality of it is, whether it's through hurrying behind because of rain, trying to just cheat the system. I mean, I'm throwing Wayne's Lawn Service out there and under the bus first. Yeah, there's some times when we fall short of the level of expectations that are required or expected here at Wayne's Lawn Service. And I remember times when Wayne was the only person at Wayne's Lawn Service running a crew and doing a crew, and I had the same issue. There were times when I would not satisfy somebody, not out of intent necessarily, but just trying to hurry, and get caught back up. So yeah, it happens. The reality of it, it does happen. Let's see. Aaron says he's got a question for everybody. He says, do you rotate your lawns from first of the day to last of the day? So that you guys mowing would understand that. In other words, does the same yard get mowed with dew on it every year or all season long? Or one week do you run them first and one week do you run them last and switch the route up? So do you switch it up so that the first lawn day isn't wetter? Oh, I didn't read your whole text, but yeah, that's what he was getting at. Should have read the whole thing, Aaron, but I knew that's where you were going with that. But what do you think, Daniel?
I guess it could be an idea.
I mean, it might be an idea, certainly. I know if we've had rain, there's certain yards we'll wait on in a route to pick them up later in the day. It's like Ratterman right down the street from us down here. We know we cannot cut that, especially the back of it, half of the back of it, or a third of the back of it, actually. If we've had rain recent, like, that morning, you wouldn't want to go down there and do it an hour after it's finished raining. But if you wait till the afternoon, it makes sense. So some of that gets into routing and scheduling, or is it better to push it to the next day? So
what do you think about Aaron's question, though?
Well, that's where I was going with that. If it doesn't jack your route up, if you run the whole route backwards, you'd be all right, I guess. So not a bad idea maybe. But I certainly wouldn't bounce around within the route
Right.
to make somebody happy, you know? Maybe that's one of those situations where, okay, I know it's going to be a pain. I know I've got to mow it late. Then that's the way I'm going to do it, or don't do the job. You know, that could be one of the bailouts. That could be one of the situations where if you can't rotate the whole route. Now, I know where sometimes that can get problematic based on your company size, small or large, is let's say somebody, has got a gate or a dog or something involved. And I don't want to tell Daniel, I don't want to have to tell you, well, every other week, have your dog up between 8 and 10 on this week, but between 1 and 3 next week, that's where it could get the implementation of the idea could get a little problematic, so not a bad idea. And I think it's certainly in certain situations, the rotation of your route, could work. So let's roll. I'm gonna roll. We're rolling. We're gonna have an extended version of Profit Time right now. Da 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 da. We're gonna roll. Yes, indeedy. I was reading something the other day, and as we talk about different customers' perspectives and contractors' perspectives, and then cancellations, and then how do we fix it? And a lot of times we think, okay, well let's fix it with, working harder and working more hours, and we get into what some people call the grind, and I hate the word the grind, but let's look at it for a second. And I was reading something on social media just the other day, and it was made really good sense to me, and I thought this is a great topic for Turfs Up Radio, and it basically is, the grind, if you will. And then, now that's not the way this Dr. Russell spoke on it, but a business professor, he made a really good point and he's not talking about anybody negatively in this, but just stay with the story with me if you would. But basically what he was doing, he was making a comparison between restaurants, restaurants and coffee houses and whatnot. And his point was that Cookout, there's a company called Cookout. And I don't know if y'all are familiar with them or not. I am, just because we do have them in Kentucky. And they stay open till 4 a.m. They're open almost 24/7. And they've got a menu list that's, I don't know how long, Dana. What?
It's got
a lot
of stuff on it.
A lot. They literally have things from hamburgers to barbecue to quesadillas to tater tots and French fries and 40 flavors of milkshake, I think it is, and just a whole big drive through and sit in if you want, but fast food, grilled chicken sandwiches, whatever. But here's the thing, even corn dogs, for God's sakes. Yeah, corn dogs is on their menu too. But here's the point that this this doctor was making. As hard as they work and all the hours that they put in, and I did not do my due diligence and fact check this, so I'm sure somebody can on Google. But the reality of it was this, he said, they make 20 times less per store location than any Chick-fil-A store location. Now think of that. 20 times less. They're doing about $392,000 on average per store location at Cookout, which is not a bad volume. $392,000 a year. But the average Chick-fil-A, he said, does $9.3 million. $9.3 million. And when you look at Chick-fil-A's business model,
20 times less.
20 times less. Chick-fil-A prioritizes a lot of things that other companies don't. Was this whole point that you don't have to have a menu that's got 400 items on it, or not literally, but 150 items or 100, whatever. It's a bunch. They closed every Sunday. And that's a non-negotiable item on the franchise list. You do not even have the option to be open on Sunday with Chick-fil-A. So they're removing a day from the week. They offer fewer items. And they're the number one fast food restaurant store in America, even above McDonald's and Starbucks, he said. Now, check this out, too. This is pretty neat. Their revenue per store is 4 times the average revenue of a McDonald's, which makes sense. McDonald's is doing more volume than Cookout. But they're doing 4 times more volume than McDonald's and Starbucks. So what does that tell you? I think what it tells me is you look at Cookout, and they're grinding on a daily basis a lot more hours, selling a lot more products, so it means more inventory, and they're barely getting by. They're barely getting by. They work less, they earn more. They got people in line. How many times don't you go to a Chick-fil-A and you drive straight through? Not normally. And the speed at which they get people through their line. Now, I know most of us here on Turf's Up Radio don't own a restaurant business, but I think every bit of this is applicable to any business. You don't scale necessarily your business by doing more or being open more hours or offering more services. You scale by doing the little things or the right things better and with boundaries in place. Kind of like when you're going to answer your phone. Are you there's a boundary that a lot of landscapers don't have. The customers certainly, I guarantee you, people would drive through Chick-fil-A at all hours of the day if they were open. Don't you, Daniel? I really believe that.
Yeah, I think so.
If they were 24/7, I think that you see people driving through there overnight during the evening.
Or maybe it's the psychological thing that keeps people in line is knowing there's the what's the thing in advertising, they call it the
fear of missing out,
kind of it's like when you have a limited something,
supply and demand.
No, there's some word out there, and somebody probably will text in and say it, but basically you have it's a limited resource, kind of. So you know that this isn't going to be available at some point psychologically. So maybe that's what keeps people going, is that I really want it, or I think I want it, so I'm just going to go get it now because I'm not going to be able to get it later, potentially.
Yeah. The whole point, I think, of this is this, in my opinion. If we take care of the little things, and Daniel, it's what you talk about, right? The 1% changes. If you take care of the little things, the big things take care of themselves. It's just that simple. And some of that, with what I want you guys to think about today, is it's not about the grind. It's not about how hard you work. It's not about, man, we're working daylight to dark. Let's figure out why you are working daylight to dark. Let's figure out why you don't have any free time. Let's figure out why you don't have any family time. Are you putting the margin, the mission, and the business model in place to where, yeah, you need to hustle, but you don't have to grind all the time? I'll tell you, and we talked about this the other day. We talked about this on Monday. I guarantee you Chick-fil-A does not have the close enough mindset. I can guarantee you that. But as an industry, a whole lot of us, and I'll throw myself under the bus with everybody out there that needs to be under the bus. And for you that don't need to be under the bus, congratulations. But there's a whole lot of us out there that don't pay attention to all aspects of our business, but specifically the cost basis of our business well enough. I guarantee you Chick-fil-A knows what everything they have on that menu board costs them. They know what the margin is. They know what their additional overhead costs are. And they know that's why the price of that sandwich is X. Now, I also know that none of us have the budgets of Chick-fil-A, or most of us probably don't. But what we can do is say and look at, just like this Dr. Russell here that was doing this comparison of Chick-fil-A versus the industry, if you will. If you look at something and somebody that is successful, although you may not be doing the volume that they're doing, you need to emulate what they're doing and do it well. And it's the basic business principles that they do well. It's their customer service. It's knowing their cost. It's having goals set up. Great point. John just sent this in. He said 2 years ago they went to 4 10-hour days. Very little overtime. Now, there's an incentive to get finished. We've got a service shop here not too far from us called Tony's Brake and Alignment that does the same exact thing. We do something very similar here at Wayne's Lawn Service. We're Monday through Friday, half a day on Friday, or Monday through Thursday and a half a day on Friday. And a lot of Fridays, quite honestly, we're off. So it's all about putting things in play that don't have the, well, I'm close enough mindset to it. And I don't mean that in a bad way directed to anybody in particular. It needs to be directed to everybody because I had that same mindset. Don't chase more hours and more options like Cookout's chasing more hours and more options to help them be more successful. When Chick-fil-A has proved that it doesn't take more hours and more options.
I will say this as the counter argument to that.
Sure.
Cookout is a very not unique, but they have targeted their niche. Cookout is a college campus fast food restaurant.
Cheap.
Well, maybe. I don't know exactly their prices. But they're open till 4 a.m. because guess what college kids like to do? Stay out late, drink. They have 47 menu options on their entree list because people like to smoke and then they want to have a corn dog and a chicken sandwich, but also a 3 different flavor milkshake. So they're targeted in on their niche very well.
Yes.
They're targeting people who have a less disposable income, so they're probably making less money because of that. But at the end of the day, does Cookout know, and we don't know this, does Cookout know, and they probably do, know their numbers? Do they know what goals they need to hit in order to stay profitable?
Yeah.
And I think that that's important to say too, especially when you're comparing a franchise that may make $9 million versus $350,000 per year. Doesn't make one necessarily more or less successful, and that can be true within your lawn business too. You don't have to make millions of dollars per year to be successful, but if you found your niche, know your numbers, know why you're doing what you're doing, then you can also be successful too.
Yeah. Because, and I agree 100% with that, Daniel, because when I'm sure they do know their numbers at Cookout. To your point, they're very targeted in who they go after. I mean, look at even the one in Campbellsville down there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a college community.
Yeah.
And it's doing well in Campbellsville, Kentucky because of that and the food that they have targeted toward the type of people. So it's kind of like what we talked about Monday when we were talking about success.
Right.
Success isn't determined by Chick-fil-A's brand doing 9.3 million per store location. It's the success of their business model that they've implemented.
Right.
So Cookout is not doing nearly the volume, but I guarantee you they're doing something because they're staying in business.
Right.
You don't see their franchises closed. So yeah, that's a great point that you make. But as we look at both of these things, I think what we look at is here's the comparison I would like you guys to look at within your own businesses. And it's just, to John's point here, he said when they switched to 10-hour days, 4 days a week, they cut their fuel costs by 20%, which makes sense too because they're already out. They're doing more jobs. They're not coming back to the shop. They're not getting reloaded. They're not, and they're not driving back out to get into the work area another day. So it's the little things that can happen as your company becomes more efficient and you have a better business plan in place, if you will. And the size of your company's volume doesn't have to be the largest in the market that you're in to see those efficiencies take place. So change the mindset a little bit about, hey, man, I'd really want to be like, so let's look at the mindset of being successful versus the mindset of I need to be Chick-fil-A. What can you do within your business other than thinking it's working more hours and giving more? You're going to think, well, Wayne, this is exactly opposite of what you say because we're going to talk about diversification of services here coming up soon anyway in a profit circle. But the reality of it is you can be trying to think of the right way to say this because, Daniel, your point was well taken. They're very targeted toward a specific group of people. Make sure that your target that you've got in line for your company, whoever that niche of customer base may be, make sure that your business model is geared toward that target. Don't try to be everything to everybody, just like Cookout's not trying to be everything to everybody. I mean, I like Cookout's grilled chicken sandwich, but it does not compare to Chick-fil-A's sandwich. But that's why, when I drive through their drive-through, I know I'm not getting a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. I'm getting a $3 chicken sandwich and not a $5.50 chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
You know,
Speaking of $5, I paid $5.29 for a small Blizzard yesterday at DQ.
did you?
I left the house with $4, and I was like, "This is going to more than cover it." Didn't, not even no.
Didn't come close. You had to get the card.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I think the whole point of that with this Dr. Russell's comparison between the two was, and it was the same as yours, Daniel. It's not wrong or right methodologies here, but one's working a lot harder to get to a smaller end goal than the one that has a better system in place that allows them to do things different and better. They've implemented the technology to make it happen. And that's what we all need to think about. What can we do within our businesses, regardless of the size of them, to be more efficient, be better than our competitors? And better doesn't mean you got a better job, just be better organized than your competitor and have boundaries within your business. And I think one of the best comparisons on boundaries is the hours that you're going to work and the day and answering that phone at 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night. It doesn't have to be that way. It's your choice on what you want to be set up like. Just take the time and make the effort to do what's best for you, your family, your employees, and your customers. But remember, just like Chick-fil-A and just like Cookout, if you will, both of them know who's driving the bus. And they're both driving their own buses. They're doing it in a different way. But one is servicing one type of niche customer, one is serving another type of niche customer. And that's what you have to decide. Do you want to be something to somebody or nothing to everybody? When you look at long-term loyalty of customer base, and I don't have any fact to back this up, I'm going to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. And Daniel, tell me if I'm crazy with this concept. It just popped in my mind. I would think that because of Cookout's demographics that they go after with their customers, their predominant demographic is that college student. So they're in a constant rotation of in and out customers. They either drop out of school, they graduate, they move along, and then
New ones come in.
New ones come in, kind of like our industry.
Right.
Where Chick-fil-A is going to also lose customers and get customers. But they're going to be more, in my opinion, I would think they're probably going to be more of a long-term loyal client coming back to Chick-fil-A, because I'm not going there because it's the cheapest chicken sandwich. I'm going there because of the service, the expectations, and the qualifications of, or not really qualifications, the follow through of their business model of good service, good food,
Right.
fast.
Yeah. Well, I think that goes back to business model, and business model for Chick-fil-A is maybe loyalty, whereas business model for Cookout is just, we have them captured.
Yeah.
They're here. They're on
They're here,
campus.
and we're less than a lot of the choices. Because Cookout, even in Campbellsville, very small community, they're surrounded by Wendy's, Arby's, McDonald's. They're all right there.
KFC, please.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 other ones.
right there, even in a small community that have the same demographic target, and they're all still open. So it's pick your lane is what I take that whole article to is pick your lane, but know that working hard and working more hours and having more options isn't always the answer. It can be, but are you going to work harder for the same margin? I guess is where that leads us to potentially. How hard do you want to work to get to the same margin? Not the gross dollars, but the same margin. So I don't know. Certainly something to think about. Appreciate all your all's input today. Appreciate all the text as always. And appreciate you staying with me for an extended version of Profit Time here on Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station. And remember, profit is not a dirty word. We'll see you Friday.